I used to think the worst thing was betrayal, but no, the worst is being erased from your own life by the very people who share your last name. They didn't stab me with knives, they killed me with invisibility. By pretending I never existed. That day, at my brother's 38th birthday party, I understood it more clearly than ever. They invited me to play a silent extra in the Flawless Family performance, and the most painful part? I once believed I was still one of them. My name is Zoe Whitman, 33 years old, a financial analyst at an investment firm in Portland. Despite earning well, I've always lived independently, in a modest apartment near the Willamette River. I don't like showing off, and I've never wanted anyone to owe me anything. For years I quietly supported my brother, Brandon Whitman, through the hard times, including when his real estate firm was nearly bankrupt, but that was never mentioned. Just like me. Never mentioned at all. The party was hosted at my parents' mansion, Edward and Clara Whitman, in Lake Oswego, a wealthy suburb filled with homes overlooking the lake. When I arrived, my Honda Civic was immediately swallowed up by rows of luxury cars lining the driveway. An Audi Q7, a Tesla, even a brand new olive green Porsche. I wore a simple black silk dress, no label, nothing flashy, but decent enough. In my hand was the silver ribboned gift box. A monogrammed pen for Brandon, the only thing I could think of that didn't feel absurd. A young man stood at the gate, dressed in a black suit, earpiece in one ear, clipboard in hand. Like I had walked into a Hollywood gala. "Good evening. May I have your name?" "Zoe. Zoe Whitman," I replied, slightly adjusting the gift in my arms. He scrolled through the list, his brows furrowed. Whitman. Whitman, here it is. You're listed as a +1 under the Whitman family block. +1, I echoed, trying to stay calm. Yes, there's no individual listing for you. Just marked as a guest accompanying the family. I forced a smile, hiding the hand tightening around my bag strap. That's fine, you can just handwrite it. I can print a new tag if you'd prefer. No need, I'm fine. I pinned the tag, labeled guest, onto my chest, right over my heart. It tugged the fabric slightly, as if reminding me I truly was playing a supporting role. Inside the house, everything was blindingly extravagant. Crystal chandeliers bounced light through champagne glasses, scattering glimmers across the walls. A jazz band played Fly Me to the Moon, like it was a royal wedding. I moved through the elegantly dressed guests, every step echoing a sense of displacement. I followed the seating chart taped near the stairs. Table 14. My name wasn't on it. Just a small +1 next to Whitman family. My seat was tucked beside the kitchen door, behind a thick marble pillar. I couldn't see the stage or the band, only hear laughter from the main area, where my parents Brandon and his wife Chelsea were holding court. I pulled out the chair and sat down, facing a limp, swan-shaped napkin with its head slumped, like it had given up halfway. I had thought, at the very least, my father, Edward, would come greet me. He didn't. He glanced at me once from afar, eyes vacant, then turned back to toast a man in a glittering suit. My mother, Clara, was busy boasting about Brandon's achievements, like he'd just won an Oscar. No one spoke to me. Not a single hello. No one asked why I came alone. I sat there, beneath the lights and music, and felt myself dissolve. As if I had never belonged. As if I had never lived under their roof for the first 18 years of my life. I touched the swan napkin gently. Part of me wanted to cry. Part of me wanted to laugh. And a small part, just a sliver, wanted to get up and never come back. That's when the lights dimmed, and my name rang out through the mic, yanking me out of my thoughts like a slap of cold water. Please welcome Zoe Whitman, beloved sister of Brandon, to share a few words. I froze. I stepped onto the stage like a shadow, not because of shyness, but because I had no idea what role I was being forced into. The spotlight hit my face, making me squint. Below, the faces of the so-called family blurred behind glasses of red wine and disinterested. No one handed me a mic. No one told me why I was up there. The music stopped, and the silence tightened like a wire about to snap. "Zoe, sweetheart." My mother Clara emerged from the side of the stage, cocktail in hand, smiling, like this was her Golden Globes moment. She put an arm around me gently, but I felt her fingernails pressing into my shoulder. Like a signal. "Isn't tonight beautiful? Brandon and Chelsea deserve the very best." I nodded slightly, eyes drifting to my brother seated at the head table. Gripping his wine glass, avoiding my gaze. Clara turned to the crowd, her voice rising like she was headlining Broadway. "And, because Zoe is always so thoughtful, she has prepared a special wedding gift for the couple." I turned to her, chest turning cold. "What are you talking about?" She laughed like I had made a hilarious joke. "The condo in the Pearl District, of course, 2 bedrooms, balcony facing the park. What could be more perfect for newlyweds?" "No," I said quietly, off mic. "Absolutely not." My father cleared his throat and spoke loudly enough for everyone to hear. "Zoe, this is a special occasion. You don't need that place all to yourself, right? You travel constantly. Brandon needs a stable home for his family." Whispers erupted like a brush fire. "She's keeping it for herself? She has always been so selfish." I felt every eye pierce me like pins. Judging, expecting, maybe even disgusted. Clara chuckled, waving a hand to calm the crowd. "She's just shy. But this would be a beautiful symbol of unity, wouldn't it, Zoe?" I swallowed hard. Milked my nose. "No one told me." Edward stood, eyes darkening. "You're embarrassing us in front of everyone? Or maybe you're pressuring me into something I never agreed to," I said into the mic, each word sharp. The room fell into a weighty silence. Chelsea looked down. Brandon didn't move. No one came to my defense. "Zoe, don't overreact." Clara's voice was soft but her eyes were ice. "It's just a small gesture." I shuddered. Not from the cold, but because I finally saw their true nature. Not as people who misunderstood me, but as people who never once believed I had the right to choose. I turned back to the microphone. "I do not agree." The words rang out clearly, steady and firm. The room froze. Then came the rustling, a few awkward coughs, and murmurs spreading like a storm. Clara stepped forward, still smiling, but her hand gripped my arm. "You're making everyone uncomfortable." I pulled her hand away. "If someone feels uncomfortable because I won't give away my own home, then I have nothing to say to them." Edward shouted. "All pretense gone. You owe us so much. Your mother sacrificed her entire life raising you, and this is how you repay us?" I stared straight at him, my heart pounding. "I paid off every loan Brandon ever took. I covered the house repairs last year. I paid your hospital bills 2 years ago without asking for anything back. I owe no one anything." The air was thick, like gas, waiting for a spark. I took a deep breath, not to calm myself, but to keep from breaking down. Not because of them, but because of myself. The fool who thought today would be a celebration. I removed the name tag from my chest and held it up for everyone to see. If this is what family means, then I'd rather not be part of it. And I stepped down, leaving the stage behind with its suffocating silence. I walked past the tables, past Brandon, who still hadn't looked up, past Chelsea, who stared at me like I had done something vile. I walked straight out of the banquet hall, out of that house, and I knew. I had just walked away from the toxic cycle they called family. In the hallway leading to the parking lot, I heard footsteps rushing behind me, but I didn't turn back. Because I had had enough. I hadn't even made it out of the lobby when I heard a glass slam onto a table, followed by the sharp clack of dress shoes against marble. Before I could turn around, a crushing force slammed into my temple like a hammer. My vision blurred, like lightning had exploded inside my skull. A breath later, I heard glass shatter and a chorus of gasps. "Oh my God, he just hit her." I reached up, my fingers immediately finding warm, thick liquid running down my face and onto my collar. Blood. My father, Edward Whitman, was still gripping the champagne bottle, its neck fractured. He said nothing, just stood there, clutching it like his hand had acted on its own without consent from his mind. His face was flushed, his shoulders trembling with unrestrained rage. My mother, Clara, stood a few feet away, wineglass in hand, her face devoid of emotion. She didn't rush to help. She wasn't shocked. She just said, coldly, "You ruined everything. This is your fault, Zoe." At that moment, I didn't feel pain, just numbness, as if my body hadn't fully processed what had happened. Around me, whispers grew louder and spread like crashing waves. For a weekend to recover. Call 911 again. Call 911 again. This is supposed to be a birthday party, not a crime scene. I scanned the room, searching for a familiar face, someone sane enough to pull me out of this nightmare. Brandon, my brother, was seated close by, staring into his plate, swirling his wine as if it held the secrets of the universe. "Brandon!" I called out, my voice hollow. Not from tears, but from freezing despair. He didn't respond. Didn't move. Didn't look up. No one in my family came near. Not a hand on my shoulder. Not a single napkin offered. They just stood and stared, like spectators watching a shocking twist at a wedding. Not horrified enough to act. An older man at table 6 leaned over and murmured to his wife, "If that were my daughter, I would have pulled her out of here." His wife replied, "But you're not Edward." A single drop of blood fell onto the pristine white tiles. Then another. Each one spreading like red ink. Punctuation marks ending the story I once called family. Only one voice cut through the noise. Jonah, my cousin. The mechanical engineer who always needed help with loan documents. "Someone call the cops," he shouted. But didn't lift his phone. He just stood there, staring at me like I was a car crash. I slowly stood up, still holding my head. The wound began to pulse, the pain building in waves, but I refused to collapse. Not here. Not in front of them. All the sounds around me faded into background noise. Just the click of my heels and the sound of my own uneven breathing. A young waiter backed away as I passed, panic in his eyes, unsure whether to help. I didn't blame him. He showed more kindness in that hesitation than the people who had raised me for over 20 years. I walked past Brandon without turning back. If he wanted to keep his eyes glued to his plate forever, I would let him rot in his cowardice. The front doors opened, no one followed, no one called out, no one tried to stop me. As if I had never been there. I called an Uber. The blood had begun to crust along my jaw, sticking to my shirt. The driver glanced at me nervously in the mirror. "Do you need a hospital, ma'am?" "Yeah." At the emergency room, the fluorescent lights made everything feel even emptier. I sat waiting for stitches with a cold glass of water in my trembling hands. Each time a nurse asked for my name and date of birth, I felt like it was some kind of cruel joke. Like I was confirming I existed, when at that party, I had been reduced to a disposable shadow. The nurse looked at me with familiar eyes. "Anyone here with you?" I shook my head. "No, just me." She nodded softly, then said gently, "You're not the first." I left the hospital close to midnight, my head wrapped in white bandages, the pain dull but constant. I sat in the car, watching the city flicker and pulse. But none of it felt like mine anymore. When I got to my apartment, the door was intact, the lock untouched. But my heart? That would never be the same. I stepped inside, closed the door and cried. No sobbing. No sound. Just tears no one would ever hear. Because bruises fade? But the moment they chose to hurt me in front of the world, that was the end. I woke up on Monday morning with my head heavy as stone, the scent of medical gauze still lingering in the air, mixed with disinfectant that hadn't quite faded from the collar I had hurriedly washed the day before. I thought I would sleep deeply after everything that had happened. After the blood-soaked party. After the unexpected blow from the man who called himself my father. But no. I just lay there, eyes wide open, staring at the ceiling, as if closing them would unleash every image that had haunted me. I made myself a cup of ginger tea, my hand still trembling as I held the mug. When I turned on my phone, the screen lit up with a missed call from an unknown number and a voicemail. I hit play, and the world tilted off its axis once again. Hi, this is Karen from Cascade Realty, just calling to confirm today's showing at 2 o'clock for the Pearl Street condo listed under Ms. Whitman. If you have any special requests, feel free to let us know, or use the lockbox as indicated. I froze. Pearl Street. The condo I currently live in. I had never contacted anyone to list it for sale, let alone authorized a showing. I called back immediately. Hello Karen, this is Zoe Whitman, the owner of that condo. I never scheduled any showings. There was a pause, followed by the sound of papers rustling. Oh, that's strange. According to our system, the listing is under your name, but it also lists a cosigner, Edward Whitman. Is he a relative? My heart clenched. He's my father, I replied, each word heavy as granite. And I never authorized him to do anything. How did they get access to the key? Karen hesitated. It says, the key was in a lockbox, attached to the door, with the code entered from the same phone that created the listing. We're very sorry if this is a misunderstanding. Would you like to cancel the appointment? Not just cancel. I want to know who submitted the listing and uploaded the documents. My attorney will be in touch. I ended the call, feeling like a bucket of ice water had just been thrown in my face. I rushed to the bedroom and tore through my handbag, the same one I had brought to Brandon's birthday. I remembered clearly, after dinner last week, my father had said, "Let me carry that for you, it looks heavy." I didn't think twice. I handed it over, assuming it was one rare moment of kindness. Looking back now, he had the perfect opportunity to search my bag and take the spare key I always kept in the small inside pocket. Sweat pooled in my palms, nausea rose in my throat, like my body was reacting to betrayal even faster than my mind. I opened my laptop and pulled up the property records. Everything was still in my name. No signs of a transfer. But something was happening. And my parents were doing it behind my back. One calculated step at a time. I dialed Marvin, a lawyer I had met at a recent networking event. He was a friend of my boss, specializing in internal family property disputes. I never thought I'd need someone like Marvin, but now, I had no choice. Zoe? I remember you. What's going on? My family is trying to sell my condo behind my back. They have a key. They created a fake listing, and I think they're planning a legal takeover. He was silent for a moment, then spoke, like flipping a switch. Send me everything you have, the original deed, receipts, proof of unauthorized use. We'll start this afternoon. I emailed him everything in under 10 minutes. While waiting for a reply, I called a locksmith. A middle-aged man arrived by noon, beanie on his head, tool case in hand. This lock's been used recently, he said, inspecting the scratches around the knob. Someone's been going in and out, trying not to get noticed. I want it all changed, and add a fingerprint lock too. Got it. It'll take a few hours, but I'll have it done today. I leaned against the hallway wall, watching him work. No break-in, no forced entry, just casual, familiar access. Like they walked into my home the way one might stroll through a store, picking whatever they pleased, assuming no one would stop them. That afternoon, I received a message from Clara. Zoe, we need to talk. About the family. About the future. Don't be so quick to judge before knowing the full story. 5 o'clock. The old house. Just your parents. Don't worry. No apology. No explanation. Just an invitation to a new performance. I stared at the message for a long time. Then set the phone down. I knew what awaited me there. Not reconciliation, just another sweetly wrapped punch, this time served with hot tea and a warm hand towel. But I would go. Not out of hope, but because this time I needed to face it. And I would not go alone. I would bring the truth with me. I got the message from my mother on a quiet April afternoon. Portland was draped in a gentle mist, and everything around me had finally started to feel still. But that message sliced through my peace like a razor. Zoe, give the family a chance to clear things up. No one wants this misunderstanding to last forever. 4 o'clock. The old house. Just your parents, no drama, no outsiders. I promise. I stared at the word promise like it still meant something, but the part of me that once believed in it had died the moment that champagne bottle shattered. I didn't respond immediately. I thought it over. Then I decided. I would go. Not for hope, but for instinct. Part of me wanted to look them in the eye. And more importantly, I needed to know what they would try next. The house in Lake Oswego looked like something out of a magazine. Freshly trimmed lawn, tulip beds in full bloom, the door freshly painted. But what hit me wasn't the appearance. It was the air inside. Too polished. Too perfect. Suffocatingly fake. My mother opened the door before I even knocked. She wore a pale blue knit dress. Hair softly curled. Makeup light. Like, this was tea with an old friend. Not the aftermath of betrayal. Zoe, you came. Yes, I replied evenly. Just the two of you, right? Yes. No one else. I stepped inside. Everything felt staged, like a set built just for me. Butter cookies on porcelain plates, fresh licorice tea, napkins folded into maple leaves. Even a framed photo of me and Brandon as kids. One I knew had been missing from the house for years. You still remember this chair, don't you? Mom pointed to the armchair near the fireplace. Where you used to open your Christmas presents in 4th grade. Just say what you need to say, I cut in, no patience left. My father emerged from the hallway holding a thin folder. His eyes weren't angry like at the party, but they were cold. Calculated. Zoe, there's been a lot of misunderstanding. We don't want this tension anymore, he said, placing the folder on the tea table. I didn't sit. I just stared at the gray cover. What is that? A way to make everything clear, my mother chimed in sweetly. We need boundaries, an agreement, so no one feels threatened or misunderstood. I opened the folder. Under the light, the bold title hit me like a punch. Property Transfer Agreement. Pearl District. I turned to the next page. Every paragraph written in carefully neutral legal language. Internal arrangement. Peaceful resolution. Clarification among family members. But it all meant one thing. They wanted to take the only home I owned. Are you too serious? I asked, still holding the open folder. My father sat down, crossed his legs, and didn't take his eyes off me. You don't need that condo, you're always traveling. Brandon and Chelsea need space to get ready for the baby. I'm the only one on the deed. No one has the right to pressure me. No one's pressuring you, my mother said gently, like she was soothing an angry child. It's just a gesture for the sake of family. A symbol of healing. You can say no, but you know what path this will take if you keep resisting, don't you? I looked at them. They weren't my parents anymore. Just two adults sitting across from me, using lawyer-like tactics to corner a witness, manipulating memories like emotional poker chips. I closed the folder and set it down on the cookie tray. Everything here is staged like a model home, but I didn't come to sign anything. I came to see just how far you'd go. My mother froze. My father blinked, his face stiff as stone. I stepped back, still staring at them. That night you let me walk out of a party with blood on my collar, not a single apology, and today, you hand me paperwork disguised as reconciliation? Zoe? My mother called softly. Don't, I cut her off. I used to think silence was grace. Now I know, it's how manipulators win. I took out my phone, snapped a photo of the folder, and slid the phone back into my pocket. Thanks for the tea. I'll be sending this scan to Marvin. And next time, if you want to talk to me, be honest. Drop the performance. I turned and walked away, my heels tapping a cold rhythm against the wooden floor. No one followed, no one called after me. The wooden door closed behind me like the final period at the end of every last illusion I once clung to. And this time, I knew for sure. I wouldn't be coming back. I met with Marvin the next morning, clutching a thick folder and carrying the weight of 2 sleepless eyes. The dull ache from my head injury still throbbed at the base of my neck, but I was used to that pain being ignored. He brought me into a private meeting room. Soft amber lighting and a fresh cup of coffee on the table made me feel safe for the first time since that horrific night. Marvin flipped through each document copy with the sharp focus of someone who had seen far too many betrayals in his career. You fully own the Pearl District condo, no co-owner, no secondary mortgage, no recent notarized authorization, he said firmly. I nodded. I never signed over anything to my parents. They only got the spare key from my purse and found a way to impersonate me. Marvin tapped the edge of the table, thinking for a few. Are you aware you're still the legal owner of another property? The house in Lake Oswego where your parents live? I looked up sharply. My heart clenched. What? Records from 2012. That home was under foreclosure risk. At the time, you purchased it in a foreclosure rescue. You paid the remaining mortgage balance and have legally held the title ever since. They never filed for a transfer. I was speechless. I remembered that time. My mother had called me in tears, saying if they couldn't make the final payment, they'd lose the house that had held 3 generations. I had just landed my first full-time role at the investment firm, barely a year in, but I agreed to drain my savings to help. I didn't count how many papers I signed. I didn't care about whose name was on the deed. I just thought, family needs this. And now? I'd bought them a roof over their heads. They repaid me by striking me at a party and trying to sell the place I call home. Marvin gently slid the file back to me. If you'd like, we can issue a notice to vacate today. They have no legal grounds to remain there without your permission. I sat in silence for a long time. I didn't picture my parents. I pictured myself, 25 years old, wearing a frayed collar blouse, standing in a bank, trembling as I signed page after page, thinking I was doing the right thing. I looked at Marvin, and for the first time since this began, I said it without shaking. Send it. I want them out. He nodded, no further questions. That afternoon, I didn't go to the office. I went home, pulled the curtains, flipped my phone face down, and sat quietly by the window. The emotions didn't pour out like a flood. They seeped in like cold water. Slow, steady, bone deep. 3 days later, the eviction notice was delivered to Edward and Clara's hands by Marvin's office, witnessed by officers from Clackamas County. I wasn't there. But I knew. Because just 1 hour later, Brandon, the brother who hadn't said a word since I was assaulted, sent footage from their home security camera to the family group chat. In the grainy video, my father opened the door in a wrinkled robe, toast in hand. My mother stood behind him, pale, still holding a teacup. The officer handed them an envelope. She read a few lines, then turned and shouted something at him, her mouth tight, eyes burning. I watched the clip twice, not to enjoy it, but to remember. To remember that when they treated me like a stranger, they never expected I would fight back. That night, I didn't turn on the lights. I didn't play music. I boiled water, poured chamomile tea, and sat in the wooden chair by the table. The same chair I used to offer my mother during her rare visits, if she ever really visited. I thought about how they called me ungrateful, how they painted me as the villain in their version of events. But what I thought about most was how long I had let them do it. Not this time. I opened my laptop, logged into Dropbox, and created a folder called Truth If You Care. I began uploading everything. Bank transfers I sent Brandon 5 years ago, scanned property deeds, emails from my mother asking for help with hospital bills. Even a message from Brandon's wife, telling me not to ruin everything. No captions, no hashtags, no excuses. Just evidence. Sent the link to the extended family chat. The same people who once asked, "How could you be so disrespectful?" The same ones who shared doctored videos of me screaming about money? Then, I turned off my phone. By the time morning sunlight poured through the windows, my condo was still. No waiting. No hoping someone would message, "Sorry I stayed silent." And